One of our state's most notorious killers is getting another chance to try to save his life.
Time is running out for Tommy Ziegler on death row. He was convicted of killing 4 people found dead inside his furniture store in Winter Garden on Christmas Eve in 1975. WESH Investigates Greg Fox goes behind bars to ask Ziegler about what could be his last chance at innocence.
Did you commit these murders?
I did not. And I've done everything in the world that I can possibly do to prove that. I did not kill my wife.
Or your in-laws?
I did not kill Mr. and Ms. Edwards.
Or Mr. Mays?
I did not kill Mr. Mays.
You're innocent?
Yes.
Those statements by convicted killer Tommy Ziegler have not changed. In the nearly 40 years since his wife Eunice, her parents Perry and Virginia Edwards, and customer Charlie Mays were murdered inside Ziegler's Winter Garden furniture store. Ziegler was shot too, but the state convinced a jury that was part of Ziegler's cover-up of a plot to collect his wife's insurance money and frame Mays. Recently, Tommy Ziegler wrote me from his jail cell here in North Florida, and he said there's 2 major developments in his case. One involves DNA testing, the other, a document. He's filed a new motion for additional DNA testing on every single bloodstain on his shirts, his wife's clothing, and father-in-law's fingernails. He claims today's testing will reveal what earlier science could not.
It was a bloody mess. How can you beat somebody to death and not get their blood on you?
Ziegler's legal team has also uncovered court documents that show his in-laws withdrew and were changing their will to make Ziegler the executor. He says this infuriated his late brother-in-law, who even looked like Ziegler back then.
Perry Edwards Jr. is the killer?
Yes.
Ziegler's hope is the courts will grant a new trial or acquittal.
Do you believe he's a killer?
I do.
And a liar?
Oh, yes.
State Attorney Jeff Ashton has been prosecuting the Ziegler case since the 1980s.
I got the read on him.
He says Ziegler's DNA motion is irrelevant because the Supreme Court has already ruled that further scientific testing will not affect the outcome of the case.
The facts are what they are. None of this stuff changes it. It never has, and it never will.
He's a killer.
That's what the jury said.
Jeff is dead wrong.
Dennis Tracy is Ziegler's attorney. He says the evidence is a slam dunk.
We are very confident that if we test this DNA, we will find out who the killer was.
But time is running out. At age 70, Ziegler's odds of leaving death row alive are fading.
I would say that I probably have a 50-50 chance, depending on what happens with this latest motion with the DNA.
At Union Correctional in Rayford, Greg Fox, WESH 2 News.
An Orange Circuit Court judge granted Ziegler's request for a hearing on his new motion that should happen next month.
And make sure to watch tomorrow at 6 when Greg will tell us what it felt like inside that prison and what it was like sitting across from a death row inmate.
You're watching WESH 2.
Brace yourself for a summer travel season that could deliver plenty of turbulence before you even get on the plane.
Tonight, WESH 2 News investigates major slowdowns like this in airport security lines.
Our Greg Fox found out what's behind it and what the top boss at Orlando International is doing about it.
Come on down, guys.
Security checkpoints at Orlando International are, in a word,
ridiculous.
Chaotic.
Slow.
Making matters worse, staffing appears oddly placed at times. We found an especially busy checkpoint in which 4 of the 12 lanes were closed. But on the other side, it was not busy, and we saw more than a dozen TSA workers standing around. It gives travelers the perception screening at OIA is not as traveler-friendly as it should be.
I think it's outrageous. I think for the prices you're paying to fly, you should get through the line a little faster.
Every now and then it doesn't go perfectly well. It's all about timing.
Airlines like American say it should be better. During spring break in March, 6,800 American passengers missed flights, including nearly 300 in Orlando. TSA claims no one will miss a flight as long as they get to an airport 2 hours before a domestic flight. But the problem will get worse. Passenger traffic is taking off, up 12% since 2014. But TSA staffing is down 12% since 2011. Why? Congress capped employment at 42,500. That's more than 17,000 fewer people than right after 9/11. To keep those lines moving a little more quickly, TSA may at times tell people to keep their coats on, keep their belts on. They may also at times have you leave your laptop in your bag. And what about shoes? You might get a chance to keep those on as you go through the screener line too. How is that possible? This TSA canine is specially trained to sniff out bomb-making material. When the canine is on duty, normal rules are relaxed, which doesn't sit well with some.
What else are they cutting, to make it faster and easier for them as opposed to safer for us?
But TSA promises the system is safe.
Once they go by the canine, we know their number one concern, explosives, is not a factor for this crowd moving through behind us.
Travelers tell us there's a simpler way to safely move passengers.
I understand it's a safety organization, but having adequate staff to handle the travelers, that's their job, right?
Airport officials agree. They're putting heat on TSA, having hired more than 24 people to make sure government workers are on their toes. And TSA is now begging Congress to approve more overtime and the hiring of more than 750 new screeners before summer delivers an air meltdown. At OIA, Greg Fox, WESH 2 News.
The TSA recently announced it will also boost the number of travelers eligible for enrollment in its pre-screening program.
Local, live, late breaking. This is WESH 2 News at 5 in high definition.
Holding everything.
It was a dramatic and violent crash, and it turns out cameras are rolling when it happens. You're seeing Ocoee officer Chris Bonner crash into Yahaira Castro at 90 miles an hour. Castro says it never had to happen, and tonight the Florida Highway Patrol agrees. Good evening. I'm Jim Payne.
I'm Angela Taylor. This all happened last Thursday along South Orange Blossom Trail. WESH 2's Greg Fox joins us live. And Greg, you talked to the victim.
I did, and she appears emotionally traumatized by the crash that happened here just 6 days ago at the corner of Holden and South Orange Blossom Trail. And while troopers say the Ocoee officer who smashed into the woman's car was not only going 90 miles an hour, the officer failed to follow the law during that chase.
They had to actually pull me from my arms to take me out of the car.
Yahaira Castro remembers the excruciating pain in her broken left wrist and broken right arm as paramedics quickly pulled her from her car last Thursday morning.
I sleep with pillows under my arms so they could be lifted up for a couple more weeks. And it has been pretty tough.
WESH 2 News obtained this video that was recorded by the red light traffic cameras at the intersection of South Orange Blossom Trail and Holden, showing the violent collision. Ocoee police officer Chris Bonner was chasing armed robbery suspects, and the Florida Highway Patrol says Bonner had his lights and siren going, but failed to safely navigate the crossing and issued him a ticket. Castro's attorney called that reckless and has put the city on notice he intends to sue on her behalf.
This was a pretty long, a very, very long pursuit by one agency across multiple jurisdictional lines, and ultimately ended up in an innocent person being injured.
Ocoee Police Chief Charles Brown told me by email today that he would not have any comment on exactly what happened here at the intersection. No comment on any pending lawsuit. The department says that the Officer Bonner, who was injured here, has had 3 surgeries and is expected this week to be moved into a rehab facility. Live in Orange County, Greg Fox, WESH 2 News.
WESH 2 News investigated, and tonight the city of Orlando is taking action. The Code Enforcement Board put the owners of the Windsor Cove apartments on notice, fix the issues, or face fines. $4 million of tax money are used each year to subsidize rent there. WESH 2's Greg Fox took a look inside to see what you're getting for your money.
You can see some construction and demolition materials here at Windsor Cove from where some repairs have been made. Obviously, some windows replaced, and these are new plastic downspouts designed to keep water moving away from the buildings so that you don't have the buildup of mold that you see right there. Some improvements are being made, but residents say it's not coming fast enough.
And as you can see, I got mold and stuff up here where the apartment upstairs is leaking.
Wet walls, leaky plumbing, leaky ceilings, and mold. This is home for Candy Cameron and her kids. One won't even stay in his bedroom because of the smell and the roaches that are everywhere.
And I have a lot of health issues, and my doctor say it could come from the mold. But I think they cover stuff up instead of trying to fix it.
Holes in the brick walls patched with drywall, cabinets with no doors, exposed electrical wiring, and sludge around pipes. Just some of the reasons why the owner was hit with citations.
They patch everything up, the air conditioners don't work, and it's just a mess. They can't never get nothing done.
Safety issues including damaged yard lighting and handrails, missing smoke detectors, torn and missing window screens, rotting ceilings, and broken wiring. Code violations, lack of pest control, leaky plumbing, broken AC, damaged floors, and garbage attracting rodents.
I take full responsibility for that as the owner.
Pastor Richard Hamlet, head of Global Ministries Foundation of Tennessee, bought Windsor Cove and claims he's put nearly $1 million into repairs. So far, the city is not impressed.
They've been sincere since we started to talk to them, but talk's cheap.
That is not right.
Angry residents accused management of threatening eviction for complaining.
They don't want anyone to call code enforcement. They don't want anyone to go up the ladder to get something done.
I have no knowledge of that. If I knew that, I would take actions within my management company. Who those employees are part of the management company. I have no knowledge of that, but I'm going to look into it now.
Code enforcement gave the owner 90 days to fix problems or face fines of more than $23,000 a day. While management says they're continuing to replace broken materials here on property and will have a full contractor repair plan by the end of this month, we also asked them if they would provide us a list of all the tenants that are being evicted so we can compare that to the list of complaints. They declined. In Orlando, Greg Fox, WESH 2 News.
A WESH 2 News investigation has uncovered some major changes to safety procedures on board airport trams.
These changes were put in place following the death of Adam Lee on May 8th. He's the OIA passenger who fell through a tram window when it stopped suddenly. Now, among the changes now in place, more secure windows, daily safety checks, and additional training for some workers.
And the report also reveals another incident following Lee's death that could have put passengers at risk. WESH 2's Greg Fox reports.
This is the airport people mover vehicle shown here missing the windshield from which Adam Lee fell to his death May 8th. He was ejected when it suddenly stopped. But how could the glass give way? Are thousands of other passengers a day at risk? Now WESH 2 News has obtained nearly 500 pages of emails, reports, service logs, and other records that show Lee's death triggered an emergency order by Bombardier, the company that operates the trams, to inspect the glass and hardware on trains at airports in Orlando, Atlanta, Pittsburgh, Denver, and London. Records also show that between May 12th and June 9th, 11 windshields and the gaskets, or seals that lock them in place, were replaced on all of the Orlando International Airport people movers, but not without problems. A Bombardier daily report reads, the replacement windshields were received but are not cut properly and do not fit, and they had 0 spare windshields. Getting impatient, an airport supervisor wrote Bombardier an email saying, we need to find out what the heck and get the new product in as fast as possible. There are 36 front and rear facing windows on the airport tram system, and it's unknown if all will be replaced or possibly redesigned. The airport's chief operating officer told me this May 20th.
Whether bolting them is the answer, I'm not the engineer to say that, but we have asked them to look at it because we want to make sure this does absolutely not happen again. 2 Bombardier workers gave the manual controller to Lee, who accidentally dropped it. Those workers were fired. And we are live overlooking the guideway of the tram system on the west side of the airport. And again, the documents that we've been going through the last couple of days also show that some workers have been retrained. Some of the workers for Bombardier have been drug tested. And the airport now requires of the company daily safety logs on the operations of these trams for passenger safety. Brett?
And Greg, did your investigation reveal any other incidents where people may have been at risk on these airport trams?
It did. In fact, on May 23rd, there are records in here that talk about an incident that was a, quote, near miss. And briefly, what happened was that one of the trams was being operated manually, just as it was when Adam Lee died. And apparently, another airport worker who wasn't supposed to be on it got onto the train. And at the same time, they discovered later that the doors at the terminal had not closed behind that train. We're going to examine that more closely coming up, all new at 6. Brett?